Hey, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we've got the first part of a two-part series which is aimed at people who are interviewing, right, going for job interviews.
Yep.
Not with us, I think just generally advice for people who are going to interviews. And we're going to start with how to successfully make a good impression at a first interview.
Good. So, being an Italian, I'm gonna go for the stereotypical answer: dress appropriately for.
I thought you were going to say you have to bribe the interviewer.
Before bribing, dress properly and immaculately. Dress properly doesn't mean, wearing, a three-piece suit, I think it means understand which kind of company you're applying to, because sometimes you might actually overdress for an interview, So if you're, interviewing for a very cool and edgy tech startup and you go there in a three-piece suit, maybe that's actually not the appropriate dress code. And you should always be a little bit better dressed, I think, than your interviewer.
Yeah, I mean, I think on this topic, if you are using a recruiter, it's good to speak to the recruiter, because sometimes, the dress code may be casual.
Yeah.
And I think you need to find out exactly what's appropriate. Don't be afraid, as Alex said, to slightly overdress, I think, but yeah, dress for the job and dress based on the advice you've been given.
Yeah, and keep your style as well, I think is important. Sometimes we've seen in the past people dressing in one way, and then on the first day at work they have a very different style. So try to keep true to yourself as well, I think it's quite important.
I think one of the other things to really consider is to avoid speaking negatively about your current or previous employers. Or your current and previous boss.
Yeah.
And I think, people are a little bit more sophisticated about how they ask these questions to get that information.
Yeah.
I know certainly in the past, when I've interviewed somebody, and maybe I'm giving away one of my little interview secrets here, but when I interview somebody and I know their boss or I've heard of their boss, I'll always say, oh, your boss, great guy.
Yeah.
Or she's fantastic, right? And I'm looking to gauge that person's reaction based on that. And even if they don't say something negative, often I can tell the negative feeling which comes through. So really try and avoid that. You've got to speak in positive. You've got to be realistic about why you're leaving and the reasons why you want to change your career. But always try and stay as positive as possible.
And I think, it's fair enough. A lot of people change jobs because they don't like their boss, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as the way it is explained, it's in a professional,
not personal,
manner. I think there's absolutely no problem in being honest about it.
Yep.
I think it's important that you do two things before an interview. That first of all, you arrive on time to the interview. So make sure you know where you're going, if the interview is in person, and even if it's an online meeting, make sure you show up like a couple of minutes before the interview, and also you are prepared, So of course, if you're interviewing for a company, you should know some things about the company and not just reading like a Wikipedia page. Just try to, have a look at the press releases of the company. Most companies these days have, YouTube videos like ourselves.
Yep.
Do a little bit of an investigation and try to find something unique to impress the interviewer, to show that actually you did care about that interview. You put a little bit of preparation in the interview. I think that is going to go a long way in distinguish yourself from all the other people that are applying for the same job at the same time.
You know what I used to do? I think when I've interviewed in the past, I used to actually go there the day before
and check it out
to the building and work out my route to get there.
Yeah.
Figure out the location. Which floor the interview is taking place on. And I think that if it's possible, that can actually make you a little bit less nervous as well.
Yeah.
It's not the first time you've seen the whole setup and you're kind of used to it a little bit. So if you do have time to do that, I think that's a great tip the day before, especially for a job that you really want.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
So another really good tip, I think, is try to build some sort of relationship or connection with, especially with the hiring manager, right? With the person that is going to be your boss, or I think it's important that try to ask some like general open question about what it's like to work at their company, what challenges are they facing, and just try to gauge a little bit, as Matt said before, about the personality, of the individual that is interviewing. Does the person like sport, for instance? Do you like sport as well? Do you have a share common in wines? And I think, again, like doing a little bit of research goes a long way, because these days you can find a lot of information about the person who's going to interview you online, either on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, right? You can like find so much stuff about what are that person interested. Again, everybody loves a little bit of attention, I think. So of course, if you go and say, hey, listen, I check out your LinkedIn profile, I saw your hobbies are this and that, I actually really enjoy that as well. That, again, that's a great way to distinguish yourself from all your competitors in the application process.
One of the key things to consider when you're preparing for an interview is, I think if you are in a kind of sales-related role, then you need to know your numbers inside out, targets, how many deals you made, average order size, all that kind of stuff.
Even in marketing, honestly, what's your budget,
too, Yeah, that's very important. And I think generally, if you want to talk about your experience, you should do so in specific examples. It's much more impressive and believable if you can say, I did this was the specific situation where it happened in, this was the result of it. And people are going to buy into that a little bit more, rather than just saying, I'm good at this, I'm great at that. Give a specific example, and you'll come across much better.
My last one for today would be energy and vibe.
That's really important.
Right, I think is an absolute key. You need to have, especially again, as Matt said, for like say front office type of roles, right? Sales, marketing, PR, you need to have good energy. You need to have a bit of that charisma, right?
But I think we all know that person's not going to represent you as well as I can.
Will, our offer is $84,000 a year plus benefits.
The last thing you want to have is you want to have a very boring, low energy person sitting in front of you, and you have to try extrapolate the answers from that person.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, the interviewer might be tired. This could have been a long day, could have been a stressful day, and I think when you are in that kind of mood as an interview, you go there with a slightly negative mindset, and actually it's really refreshing when the interviewee brings the energy to the interview, brings the positivity, and you can create a great impression that way.
Absolutely. So we have tons of really, really good recruiters here at Cornerstone. So if you want to have more specific actually interview tips about again your current job interviews, if you want to know about the market, hit us up. Our guys will be more than happy to get in touch with you.